With the clock ticking, the so-called Supercommittee in Washington has a long way to go to find a way to start getting government spending under control.
24-hour News 8 political reporter Rick Alvin is here now with some of what the select panel is up against in this whole thing.
Well, first of all, there's a timeline. 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats. They've been given a daunting task: cut $1.5 trillion in government expenditures over the next 10 years. Even if they do that, the country's deficit is still more than 10 times that amount. Still, some consider such an agreement an important start. The question is, will the committee even have something to present to both houses in the next 3 weeks? The deadline is the 23rd of November. In Washington, the so what attitude toward deadlines may be altered in this process. If the committee fails to come up with a plan, or if the House and Senate fail to pass it, there are some automatic cuts that could kick in that could be politically difficult. That would be hard to swallow for Republicans and Democrats. The cuts would impact defense and non-defense spending evenly. In other words, everything would be cut to reduce spending at least $1.2 trillion. That is, unless some members try to change those cuts, which could be politically dangerous. Either way, the 535 men and women who make up Congress, as well as President Obama, face some very interesting days between now and the time they break for the holidays. Even though there is a December 23rd deadline for a vote, it realistically needs to be done before that. Some have suggested that the plan needs to be unveiled and voted on before Thanksgiving in order to give it the best chance to pass. The theory is lawmakers might be less likely to compromise on some big budget issues if they're called back to Washington between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But just late last week, Democrats offered a plan to cut the deficit by about $3 trillion in the next 10 years. $1.3 trillion of that in new tax revenue. Republicans countered with $2.2 trillion in cuts that include Medicare. Between the two, it doesn't seem likely either could pass both houses, even if one or the other got out of that so-called super committee. So, as I said, the clock is ticking, and you know there are 2 Michigan members on that committee: Congressman Dave Camp, chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, and Congressman Fred Upton, who chairs the Energy and Commerce Committee. They'll be working with the other 10 members to find some big compromises in a very little amount of time. Susan?
Okay, Rick, thank you.